Dearest colleagues, what you see in the background is not just another fancy Zoom wallpaper. It's a piece of computer code which belongs to a music app which I desperately wanted to have, but which I couldn't find anywhere on the internet. So I asked my new assistant, ChatGPT, to write it for me. And it took me about half an hour of trial and error, and there it was, and it just works wonderfully. Although I don't understand a single word of what stands there, and also I've never written a single line of computer code in my entire life. Now, this little example might illustrate that we are really at a turning point in history. That unprecedented emerging technology is about to reshape the way we work and the way we live. And this is going at an enormous pace. And if you just look at the development of ChatGPT from version 3.5, which is the green dots, to version 4.0, which is the current version, which is the blue dots, in passing board exams, in passing college admission exams, in passing law and medical exams. And we don't really need much fantasy what we'll be able by the end of this year, 2023. So the dynamics is really breathtaking. And there have been many good studies published in the last few weeks and last few months. One of them by Goldman Sachs, a huge basis of global data in March this year, which identified that a staggering 2/3 of current occupations could be at least partially automated by AI, which has huge implications on what we should learn and what we should teach the people we have the privilege to work with. Because there's a tremendous disruption to the skills we currently rely on to do our work. This is one of the results of the Future of Jobs report, which came out in May this year, published by the World Economic Forum. 44% of the skills we are relying on today will be obsolete by the year 2027, so within 5 years. And this causing a huge effort necessary to reskill and to upskill many people in order to keep them and to keep ourselves employable. Now, what are the skills which are most urgently needed, most sorely missed, and most dearly sought after? And this is the hit list, the top list of the skills. And to give you a little background, this is not just opinion. These are also resources already allocated in companies representing millions and millions of employees from all over the world. And it is almost 20% of global education budget in companies, which just only goes to the first two, which are cognitive skills and analytical thinking on a meta level. And this is not programming. You see, programming is here 20, and not even the capability of handling AI. It's just abstract thinking, being able to think critically, to think out of the box, and creative thinking, which is, of course, the prerequisite for bringing about innovations, followed by resilience, motivation, curiosity, and so on, which are very important soft skills. This is a huge market for us as educators who can combine soft skill with hard skill, cognitive capabilities in their training. And it is necessary to, although the growth of the education sector is predicted to be about 10% in the next 5 years, it is quite important that we do focus on those skills which are considered to be the greatest impediment to economic growth, the greatest impediment to the necessary transformation, even greater than the lack of resources in the context of the emerging global recession. Because there is also a sort of selection pressure on our professions and on our education sector, as the most recent study I found, which is McKinsey Economic Potential of Generative AI report from June, just a few days old, and it says that the advances in technical capabilities could have the most impact on activities performed by educators, professionals, and creatives. So this wave of automation is completely different to all other waves, which replaced either manual labor, like the steam engine, or menial repetitive tasks like the computers. This wave of automation has arrived in the midst of professions which require multi-year academic careers, and they are replacing many tasks and skills which are procedural and which are in a way repetitive. Without generative AI, it was 50% probability that our job was affected. Now it's over 50%, and it's going to rise. Now, what should we focus on, and how do we train analytical and creative thinking? I think it's worthwhile to take a look back at a very old but still central model to everything we are doing, which is Bloom's taxonomy, which is a hierarchy of cognitive skills, ranging from just knowing something, remembering the buzzwords, to understanding, to being able to apply, and then up to the higher level skills of analytic, evaluative, and creative thinking. If we remember what was and what sometimes still is the highest level that companies want to achieve, at least for the great majority of trainings and other learning and development endeavors, which is just let them be confident applying something. Yeah, don't care about all the intellectual stuff. Don't care about academics echelons. Just concentrate on application pragmatism. Now, this is something which we know and we already experience, is most of the times already better done by machines, and will be even more so by the end of the year, not even thinking about the next few years, so that our focus will move up the pyramid to the higher order skills as predicted, and in accordance with huge amounts of data accumulated in the studies I quoted of analytical thinking, evaluative thinking, so making something out of the analyzed data and creating something new. I'm convinced to the degree of certainty, and this conviction is backed by many prominent thinkers and thought leaders all over the world, that there is one methodology which is best for training these higher order skills. And this methodology is exposing people to science. It's not just using scientific results in practice, just like you use food for cooking something. It is really incorporating science into practice and using science as a method of teaching and a method of learning. And this is the reason why it is my mission to bring the science and obviously the technology of future learning and development to the world. I'm grateful that prominent thought leaders like Amy Edmondson, the author of the concept of psychological safety, postulates that today's leader must learn to think like scientists, because scientific leadership is a kind of leadership which thinks in experimentation, in curiosity, in intellectual stimulation, rather than in command and control structures. I'm grateful that great thinkers like Adam Grant, in his book Think Again, points out the values of scientific thinking even for startup founders who have been trained not just in business school knowledge, but in really seeing their business as experiments, collecting data and making a study out of it. They really collect more average total revenue for the year, for the first year of their existence. Great study. I recommend you to read. So what's the consequence of all this? We need education that educates the educators, that they will be enabled and empowered to pass on the spirit of science to those they work with. And this is the reason why I had the privilege, together with a team of wonderful people, to design a scientific trainer training. And the scientific trainer training enables colleagues from training, from coaching, from consulting backgrounds, both self-employed or employed at companies, enables them to develop into scientist practitioners. They are practitioners, they remain practitioners, but they are scientists enough that they can incorporate all the treasures that are published in neuroscience, in psychology, in systems thinking, in sociology, and in many other relevant disciplines into their practice. They are able to read the papers themselves, and they are able to design their own work as experiments, collecting data and giving the invaluable insights back to science, so that the wisdom of practice enables science and science enables practice. And there might be, in the long run, and this is something which I'm currently feeling and seeing when I look at the results of the training, there is dynamics and an engine which is starting to move something which goes beyond of what an individual is able to achieve. And so I'm grateful that my mission and my vision is shared by a growing number of people, by a growing number of professors, of CEOs, of trainers and coaches and colleagues from education, who are joined in the mission of transforming learning and development, because we are convinced that learning and development is the most important thing which we can do now in the year 2023, at this decisive step in the evolution of humans and in the evolution of our planet, that the speed of development, that the depth of learning, and that the direction of learning and development make a huge difference of whether we will be able to tackle the challenges ahead of us, and that we can join together to create an ingenious and wonderful world. I invite you to get in touch with me. I invite you to return to this page and look for new material, new food for thought. And I'm looking forward to be able to share my experience with you and to be able to receive your wisdom, your experience, and let us join together to fulfill what I've once formulated as the mission statement of Brain HR, my institute, which is science for human development. Thank you very much.